Excuse me. At this time, we call the meeting back and move to agenda item 8, the annual public forum. We'd first like to take this moment to introduce everybody and to recognize some council people who are in attendance. We have Susan Culpepper back there in the back. We have Chris Levacy, who is actually our liaison on this committee, and he's over there. And then we have Jerry Kaler. Okay. And then there was Dale Carter. There he is back in the back. Okay, so I'd like to turn the meeting over to Chief Muntz.
Well, thank you, Chair. I appreciate it. And I want to thank you and the board for this opportunity to discuss one of my favorite topics, and I'm sure Deputy Chief Edwards, the great police department that we have. Every day we have employees working hard, making my job easier and making us look good. It has been just over a year since I was promoted, and I'm sure everybody wants to know what I've been doing or what the department's been doing since that time. Tonight, Deputy Chief Edwards and I will discuss who we are as a department, where we are now, and where we're going. We're going to hit you with some points and just kind of streamline those. Some of the good things we've been doing, hit a lot of the highlights. We'll take questions from the panel as we go along if we need to. And at the end, we're going to take audience questions and we're going to tackle some Facebook Live questions. So, what are we all about? I think we are about life safety. I think we're about service to the community. And I think we're about quality of life. I think our mission statement speaks to what we are about. The mission of the Blue Springs Police Department is to provide the highest quality of police services to the Blue Springs community by promoting a safe environment through police and citizen interaction with emphasis on integrity, fairness, professionalism. We pledge to maintain the highest level of respect for an individual's rights and human dignity by providing equal treatment for all persons without prejudice or bias. And I talk to almost every academy class that starts, and I mention the relationship that we have between the public and the citizens and this department. And that relationship has to exist for us to be successful. That mission statement is a broad statement, but it influences all of our goals and our daily endeavors.
The department was formed in the late 1960s under the direction of Chief Howard Brown and has grown steadily since that time. This department has been involved in some pretty innovative things, like being the first agency to have a 911 call system in the state of Missouri. We were also the first agency in Missouri to launch the Child ID fingerprint program. Our officers were EMTs, emergency medical technicians. The first version of the YOU Youth Outreach Unit diversion program has now become a model for other agencies throughout the state and throughout the nation. Our Citizens Police Academy is a phenomenal success. Our stepladder program and the Pokemon Challenge, among many other things. Due to our growth, the department is divided into 4 bureaus. There's the Administrative Bureau, which is comprised of the chief, the deputy chief. We have our accreditation manager for CALEA, our professional standards in that bureau. Then we have the Operations Bureau, which is our uniformed personnel that's out on the ground most of the time. It's our police officers, our animal control officers, our detention officers. Also, we have the Staff Services Bureau. That's our investigative personnel, crimes against persons, crimes against property, and also our domestic violence detective. We also have our Community Youth Outreach Unit. That's our school resource officers that are still in the schools, our crime prevention officers, and also our civilian staff counselors that work with the youth in the community and also adult families. Each bureau is comprised of essential functions of the PD, separated for management purposes, but working together to achieve our mission statement. We have 142 employees that make up these 4 bureaus. 100 of the personnel are sworn full-time officers, and 42 full-time civilian employees. That's our officers, our dispatchers, our records clerks, our detention officers, our administrative staff. In 2017, our department handled 46,303 calls for service. As of September 30th this year, we have handled 30,402 calls for service. Our dispatch center answered 25,216 911 calls last year. So far this year, they've answered 19,386 911 calls.
So what have we done this past 12 months? Well, it's been a busy year so far around the police department. With the help of our accreditation manager, Terry Sandlin, and other hardworking employees, we were able to successfully achieve our reaccreditation this year. We have purchased drones and are in the process of getting employees trained to use them. We have purchased body cameras and are rolling those out to our patrol division. We have migrated from mobile data terminals into vehicles to tablets that can be taken in and out of the patrol cars. We have purchased a new records management system and computer-aided dispatch software program and are in the middle of a year-long project to replace our current aging software. 3 promotional processes were held this year, one for sergeant, one for lieutenant, and one for captain. 2 sergeants were promoted, David Brotherton and Ken Keating, and we are finishing up the process for lieutenant and captain. This process will create an eligibility list to help replace the vacancy created when Stacy, Deputy Chief Edwards, was promoted. With the assistance of this board and other city departments in the crime prevention unit, new ordinances were passed this year to increase community safety. The hotel motel ordinance has created a tier system for the hotels that, based on their calls for service numbers, places them in a tier. Each level or tier requires them to work closely with the police department to reduce calls for service. Prior to implementation and training of the managers this past July, we were averaging 4 to 5 calls per day to the 2 most problematic hotels. Since that time, we have dropped significantly to just 1 or 2 calls for service on bad days, and some days, no calls for service. This is a reflection of the ownership taking a stake in the problem and working closely with Crime Prevention Unit to address issues on their premises. The passage of the ordinance requiring upgraded video surveillance systems works to ensure that certain high-target retail theft or retail areas prone to theft have good video systems. Crime prevention officers have been working with the businesses to educate them on requirements and assist them however possible in complying with the ordinance.
We have been challenged the last several years in recruiting and hiring, but we feel that we're doing our best to keep up. Since January, we've hired 18 people for various positions throughout the department. That includes police officers, detention officers, dispatchers, records clerks. All of these positions have been hired to fill vacancies created when employees retire or resign for various positions. Across the nation and the metro area, the number of candidates seeking to be officers has dropped dramatically for a multitude of reasons. So we're not alone in our challenges to not only recruit quality employees, but to also retain those employees. With the recent change in the agreement with the school district over this past year to provide school resource officers, we're fortunate to be able to retain those 2 positions no longer needed in the middle schools. And we've expanded our crime prevention unit and our investigations unit by 1 officer and 1 detective. We are also grateful that we are able to purchase this year a brand new firearms decision-making simulator called a Milo system. This has been used at least once already and has been a big success. You'll see it at our Citizens Police Academy, our Youth Academy, and training for our officers. You'll see it, we're excited about the cop car karaoke that'll soon be coming. We're in the process of purchasing that with donated funds from the Brecken's Lemonade Stand. When we roll this out, it will be a big event like our National Night Out. And this year, we also implemented mandatory physical agility testing for our officers to go with our pre-employment physical agility testing. Testing will begin next spring, and the goal is to improve health, reduce injuries and sick time, as well as improve recovery time. We continue to work with the HRC, the Public Safety Citizens Advisory Board, and with the Spirit Council to address community issues. We have a large number of programs that we conduct and participate in that increases services to the community beyond basic law enforcement. It increases our positive interactions with the community. We use those programs to help foster and cultivate relationships needed to reduce and prevent crime. Our Volunteers in Police Service, our VIPS program, is highly successful, with just over 50 volunteers working hard in different areas. Our youth outreach programs through the CYOU are immensely popular. Our Girls on Fire, Life Sports, DARE, and RAD are just some of the programs. We've had great success with our National Night Out program and our Citizens Police Academies. They're continually full. We recently graduated our 30th class and celebrated our 10th year in this program. The Neighborhood Watch program is also experiencing a rejuvenation. Our drug take-back program, in partnership with the DEA, is very popular, even to the point that we put a safety depository box for prescription medicines in our lobby. This program prevents those medicines from getting into the wrong hands or into our water system.
We also have some unique partnerships, such as the Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association, who organize our shop with the Blue Springs Cop each holiday season, and our special relationship with James Lewis Elementary and the Blue Pals Pen Pal program. We've also partnered with the Urban Rangers and the Fort Osage Career Technical Center on the Step Ladder program. This program provides job shadowing and internship opportunities to help our recruitment, especially recruitment in diversity, as a sort of grow your own employee program. So with all we do and all we've accomplished, how safe is Blue Springs really? Well, let's discuss some of our stats and our trends, but I want to mention something Mark Twain said one time. He said there's lies, paraphrasing really bad lies, and then there's statistics. But statistics, you know, they govern what we do and what we look at. And I want to discuss some of what you see up there on that chart. From 16 to 17, you're going to see our violent crimes have gone up 8.6%. So that seems like a high percentage, but it's only going from 81 to 88 total violent crimes. And I want to clarify that there are Part 1 crimes and Part 2 crimes. We report those crimes through our UCR, Uniform Crime Reporting Program, to the state of Missouri, who report it to the feds, and then it becomes a part of the national crime statistics. So if you look at that, in our violent crimes categories, we're up in 2 categories, down in 2 categories. If you look at our property crimes, we're down in burglaries, but we're up in thefts and motor vehicle thefts from 16 to 17. So far this year, as of September 30th, we've had 3 homicides. Now we had our 4th homicide in November. We had 3 homicides in 2017. Just to speak on that a little bit, I think guns, drugs, and teenagers, they don't mix. 2 of our homicides this year involved that. One of the other homicides involves drugs. So I think, I don't have an answer for that, because I think across the nation, I think violent crimes are trending up, property crimes are trending down. Our rapes are up this year, but I mentioned before in our regular meeting, there's some definition changes that affect that. And I think year to year, you can see 2013 was a bad year for us, for this community, for violent crimes. But I think when we talk about rapes, I think, and I reviewed every case from September 30th back for this year, and all of them were known offenders, either a family member or ex-boyfriend, whatever. And I think victims are feel more confident about coming forward to report those crimes. So I think you're going to see, for various reasons, a rise in crime. It may be because of socioeconomic conditions. Maybe it's a bad fiscal year. Maybe it's not. If I knew the answer to some of these things, I'd write a book and retire. But as we go to the Part 1 crimes, and on the next slide, I think you're going to see a similar occurrence in that, or the Part 2 crimes, I'm sorry. On the next slide, you're going to see some are up, some are down. And if you compare 17 to 16, we're up, we're down. As of September 30th of this year, some of our categories are trending higher, where I think we might come in. For example, trespassing is high this year. I don't know why trespassing complaints are higher. I really don't have an answer. But overall, I think we're trending very comparable to previous years. And I'm going to talk more about safety and perception in just a little bit. But I want to get on a soapbox just for a minute too, because a lot of those things that you see, motor vehicle thefts, larcenies, shoplifting, can be prevented by, using a military term, hardening the target. If citizens would lock their doors, close their garage doors, lock their vehicles, don't leave your valuables in your vehicles. If you have to, put them in the trunk, hide them. And if you go into your favorite establishment for your favorite coffee and you think, I'm just going to run in, I'm going to leave my vehicle running, don't be surprised if it's gone and you come back. Because that's a lot of our motor vehicle thefts are just that. Vehicles left running in the driveway, vehicles left running at various gas stations or convenience stores. So, with all that being said, what do we do with these stats? We review these stats on a regular basis. About monthly, we meet as commanders and with our crime analysts to determine hotspots, crime trends, to see if we need to redirect resources to a certain area. If our crime analyst in between that time sees something going on, maybe a rash of burglaries or maybe a rash of vehicle break-ins or a theft here or there that leads us to a trend, maybe a high amount of drug arrests in a certain area, we'll meet, we'll review that, and we may redirect resources.
Residents can always connect with us if they have questions, or they can go to the city's website and explore our online crime mapping. It will show what crimes have been committed or reported in your neighborhood or in the whole city. We take school safety very seriously and work closely with the Blue Springs School District Department of Public Safety. We feel we have a very good relationship with the department and the district. We continually share information and discuss events that have occurred. We also conduct AVERT training and similar training with them annually. With the new measures that the schools are taking to improve their safety, adding officers, canine units, we know positive steps are being made to make the schools safe and secure, creating safe and secure learning environments for our students.
I want to address perception versus reality, excuse me, for just a minute. So I feel we have a safe community. I'm in a different place than the average citizen, though. I feel the statistics show that we have a safe community overall. As I mentioned, we have some challenges right now with youth, guns, drugs, and maybe a certain element in our community. So another person may see that and think we do not have a safe community. And that's fine. That perception is their reality. And for all the good things in social media and Facebook Live, I mean, some things do tend to get blown out of proportion. But still, that perception is reality for the person who is a victim of crime. You had asked me as a board when we were preparing for this to try to compare Blue Springs to some other cities. I tried to do that. It's very difficult, very challenging. You have population levels, demographics, socioeconomic conditions, crime definitions, crime category definitions, how they collect their data, what they may classify as one crime versus another that we may classify as something different. All of that works. It makes it very hard to compare apples to apples comparison. But I think you can kind of get an idea. So on the next slide, we were able to get some data from Lee's Summit. And I'm going to use them to kind of compare it to. You can see in that top category, homicides, 2017, 16, they're not too far off from where we're at. The number of what they classify as rapes are not too far away from where we're at. Motor vehicle thefts, 170 in 2017, they went up quite a bit. And not to throw them under the bus, but their violent crime has gone up just a little bit. Their property crimes have gone down, if you follow that graph. Overall, their crime has gone down, though, in the last 4 years. But their population is almost 100,000 people. We have just over 54 or 55,000 people, and our stats are just about the same as theirs. So are we safer or are they safer? I don't know, I'm a little biased. I think we're safer here, but their community is probably the most closest to us in demographics. If you take Independence, I didn't even look at that. They have a much larger population and a very different demographic. So I think their crime rate, if you put it on paper, is going to be higher. But my job, or our job as a police department, is to educate and provide the best services we can to improve safety. At the end of the day, it's my job to make citizens feel safe and address their perceptions. Our recent citizen survey, shows that for the most part, citizens do feel safe. 82% of the respondents said they were very satisfied or satisfied with police services. Based on the sum of their top 3 choices, the public safety services that residents feel should receive the most emphasis from city leaders over the next 2 years were the city's overall efforts to prevent crime, visibility in the neighborhoods, and visibility in the retail areas. So that's my goal moving forward. And how are we going to do that? That leads into the future. Where do we go from here? One of our long-term plans, 20 years or less, that was discussed during the remodel of this beautiful building is that we would need a substation in the south part of Blue Springs, as that is where the growth is trending. I can foresee a substation of some sort with a larger training room, maybe with an indoor range and room to hold some of our auxiliary functions. That's a concept at this point. I'm not sure what shape that would take, but that's where I see a trend and a future plan going, and that's what we're moving towards. Our long-term and continual goal is to match the growth of the city. We need to maintain our call response times and meet the safety needs of the community by expanding the department as the community grows. And maybe that doesn't mean just adding bodies. Maybe that means not growing in the traditional sense, but making use of technology and other advancements as we move forward throughout the entire department.
One of our short-term goals is to continue to make improvements in recruiting, especially in diversity, to make sure that the PD mirrors the makeup of the community. We will begin working on a new recruitment video. We will increase our recruitment efforts. We will plan to update and increase our use of the LPR technology and utilize external vest carriers to take the weight off of the officers' belts and improve their health. We will work with the city on pay and benefits to not only attract new employees, but to retain current employees. We also plan to maintain our accreditation status with CALEA, both short-term and long-term. This is our commitment to maintaining a professional department.
We're going to continue to enhance and develop our outreach programs and find new ways to connect with the community, increase our visibility, or simply make our current programs better. We'll also work to stay current with social media advancements, and we even plan to create a department Twitter account in the near future.
Overall, we believe that the future looks very optimistic. We have a great department working in a great community that gives us great support on a daily basis. As in all things, we will face challenges, but with our community support, we will face them together, and we are confident that we will be successful.
So we've thrown a lot of stuff at you, and we've hit a lot of highlights. Now we'll take questions from the audience, questions from the board, questions from social media. If you guys out there have a question, please let me know. I'll bring you the mic and you can ask me your question. And we're going to kind of transition. You've been listening to us for a long time. I'm sure there's a lot of questions out there. Now's your chance to hit me up. Oh, good. We already have a question. Before we go, Marion, how are we doing on?
We've got a couple questions waiting.
Okay, we'll take this one first. So if you could tell us your name and then ask me your question.
My name is Gail Eckert. You mentioned visibility in the community. How many officers do you have on the road at this time, and how many have we improved the number in the past few years? That's all.
So we are allocated 100 sworn officers from the chief down, and then we have 42 full-time equivalent employees. So that's 100 sworn. So the patrol division, which is what you see boots on the street, has 65 sworn, roughly.
68.
I think 3 or 4 years ago we were at 99, and we were allocated to go up to 100. With that, how do we increase visibility? I think we get creative. We have a VIPS on Patrol program that is going to be doing, or does, parking monitoring in our retail district. And they may be looking at handicap violations, fire zone parking, but what does the average citizen see? They see a marked police unit rolling through the parking lot. That's what I want to see. Or maybe they go into a neighborhood and they do a vacation check. What does the citizen see? They see a marked police unit in a neighborhood. So that's our goal. We're going to try to increase the number of vehicles we can get out there. We're going to make an emphasis on some retail enforcement and some special programs. Maybe we increase our visibility in the retail shopping areas and in our neighborhoods. So we have currently, on paper, we are fully staffed. But effectively, we have 4 people right now in the police academy. We have, Ashley, I'm going to pick on you. How many, you and David are in FTO?
Yes.
So we have 2 in FTO right now?
Right.
So they're in training, which is field training on the road. So we have 2 there. We have a vacancy in our traffic unit that we haven't filled. And we won't do that till we get up to full staff on the road a little more. I'm trying to think of what other, we have another vacancy, or do we not?
We've got some officers on transitional.
Okay. Does that help? Okay. What's our Facebook question, Lorraine?
All right, so Dan wants to know what improvements have been made in multi-agency cooperation, such as with Independence, Green Valley, and others.
Wow. What improvements have been made? I don't know that we improved our radio system back in 2012, which has helped us immensely be able to communicate with other agencies, especially during a pursuit. And I'll bring to light a pursuit recently that I just watched the video today. Was a stolen pizza delivery vehicle in Oak Grove. One of our officers overheard the radio traffic on that radio frequency, got in pursuit of the vehicle on I-70, and at the end of the pursuit, you had Kansas City, Jackson County Sheriff's Department, some of our folks, all in one location, all talking on the same radio channel. So I think that new radio system that was part of the Public Safety Sales Tax Initiative passed in 2011 that helped provide this building, that radio system, and we added new employees way back in 2011. Overall, though, relationships with Green Valley and other agencies, I like to think we have a pretty good relationship with all those folks. I know as far as officers on the street, we all get along. And I don't have a problem with any of those guys, and they don't have a problem with me, I don't think. So, but we'll continue to work and improve those relationships. Any others?
We have another one from Nikki. She says, "Hi, Dad. Great presentation so far.
Geez, great. Thank you, baby.
What steps are you guys taking to continue to attract a diverse set of applicants to your police force?
Wow, good question. All right, so that's a big issue with the department. I think that, and I actually have some numbers here I brought with me, but we have a really, what I think is a very good, diverse department. And I think our numbers represent what the community represents. So I'm going to throw those numbers at you real quick. 2017, our service population, Caucasian is 85%, African American 6%, Hispanic 4%, others 5%. Our current sworn officers, 89% Caucasian, 5% African American, 3% Hispanic, 3% others. And that includes females, minorities. So we're right there on what we have right now. One of the things that's a challenge, and we mentioned it in our forum tonight, in our presentation, is it's hard to recruit and retain diversity. It really is, because unfortunately, we have a great economy, depending on who you listen to, but things are looking pretty good, right? So if you are of any capability and you are a minority, there are lots of jobs that are looking to get you, and they want to pay you more than I can pay you or the city of Blue Springs can pay you. Our challenge is to recruit diversity. That's one of the reasons why we need a new recruitment video. I watched our recruitment video today with a couple people, and I'm like, holy cow, this is ancient. And we're still using it. But we're gonna make an effort over the course of this next year, maybe 6-8 months. We're gonna try to get a new video, much shorter, much more fun, and much more attractive to members of any class. Yes, ma'am. Hold on. You have to tell us your name and your question.
My name is Jana Barber. I'm the Assistant Manager of Autumn Police Departments. I would just like to know, as far as the academy recruits go, what is the age and the academic level for qualifications for that?
Well, let me tell you, the older I get, the younger they get every day. It just seems like, because we're hiring people now that, 21, 22, and I've got kids that age, and it makes me feel old. In the state of Missouri, you have to be 21 to be licensed as a police officer. So to get into the academy, you can actually be younger than that, but you have to be able to turn 21 before we'll put you on the street or before we give you a commission. Most of the folks that we have in the academy are in their mid-20s, I would say. Now, with that being said, we were able to hire recently an officer with some seasoning to him, who had several years in the highway patrol, several years as a sheriff up in Carroll County, I believe. So he brings a lot of experience and knowledge, but he's a brand new officer on the road. We hired an officer from Carrollton, Missouri, a young person who's had some experience there. So we're not only hiring and attracting people that are brand new to the profession, but we're able to attract people from other departments and maybe bring them in. Did that answer your question?
Okay, we have another one from Cindy. She wants to know, if a citizen sees a violator, such as parking in a handicap spot or with expired tags, should they or can they contact the police?
Yes. If any citizen who sees a traffic violation or a parking violation, we have a business line, 228-0152. They can contact that business line and report that non-emergency crime. Parking violations are a good example of that.
And then another one kind of along those efforts is, what efforts are being made to get people to call the police instead of using social media to report crimes? I find many people don't know the non-emergency line or don't think to use it.
Okay. Well, we have text-to-tip. We have our non-emergency line. Facebook, if you try to report a crime on Facebook to the department Facebook page, you get a message that says, this page is not monitored 24/7. You need to contact 228-0151 or 2. There's a message there. So hopefully that person that posted that that I want to report this, they can either wait or they call that number and report that crime. But obviously, if a person feels they're in danger or it's serious enough, they should call 911. Any other questions from the, yes?
Hi, my name's Karen, and I'd like to kind of piggyback off of that diversity question, and I'm not sure that you have the answer, but I guess my question is, do you consider, when you look at those statistics of how many minorities you have on your police department, how do those mirror against the community as a whole?
In 2017, for example, the Caucasian population is 88%. We're at 89% Caucasian officers. Let me pull that number back up. 6% of the service population in Blue Springs is African American. 5% of our officers are African American. So I think we're pretty close. And I think we have done, and part of that is to efforts made by the previous chief, Chief McCoy, and efforts of this department to just attract people. And it's a challenge, and I call upon our officers to go out, because we don't have a recruitment division. Our crime prevention sergeant, I've tasked with, hey, you need to go to a job fair, you need to go to a career fair, you need to go here, we need to go, and he drags an officer along, willingly, I hope, because they make a better example of who to attract. So we do what we can there.
Quiet right now.
Go for it.
I've got one. So I'd like to piggyback on the community presence question that was asked earlier. So more cars, more presence is one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is having more positive public interactions. What can you talk a little bit about your standard that you set as a chief as far as the conduct of your officers and how they're to interact with the public, and just doing more to have more positive interactions that increases that faith and trust that you talked about earlier?
Yeah, I think if you look at that slide, that's part of it. Getting officers out of the cars and in the streets, and I might even pick on a couple of them that are here, but my expectations are that our officers should treat everybody like it's their grandma or their mom or their dad. That's what I want them to do. Because if they're treating that person who may be your mother, grandmother, a victim of crime, they're treating them with respect and dignity until they have to arrest them. And then they arrest them and they continue to treat them with respect and dignity. That's what I ask of our officers, and that's what I would expect from them. And it takes a little bit of time sometimes to distinguish who is somebody who's going to hurt me and who is somebody who wants to help me. Sometimes that takes a little time. Takes a little bit of experience on the street. Other times it's just having the emotional intelligence to know how to treat people. You can always start with sir and ma'am and then go down from there. So am I saying anything I haven't said before, or is it news to you guys? Good. You want to add anything to it? Sterling, I know that, okay.
You hit it on the head.
All right. I'm surprised I haven't gotten any questions from fellow law enforcement in the crowd. You got a question? No? I'm almost afraid to ask, but I'm going to give you. All right.
Chief.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh my gosh, forgot what it was. And today's, with the tightening of budgets, we have to recognize Eric Johnson back there too, our city administrator. But as budgets tighten and technology becomes more expensive and more innovative, how are you going to balance all of that?
Well, that's a good question. For me, a budget is just a moving target that I try to hit. No, I'm just kidding. That's not really true. Budget is a planning tool for me. So as we try to not only say, where are we trending in law enforcement as a whole, or where is this community trending? I'm looking at, okay, what technology is out there? But also, what are the goals of, say, the city council? What are our budget goals? What are our department goals? Have we hit those? Do we need to scrap some programs and enhance some other programs? Do we need to look at this piece of technology? If so, what does it cost? And then where can I make a cost savings in another area to be able to afford that piece of technology? Sometimes having boots on the ground is a way to go. Sometimes that's not the way to go. So it's kind of a team effort. I mentioned that we work closely with some of the other city departments and council members to develop our ordinances that help with the hotel situation. But we also work with the finance department very closely. We work with the leadership team that Eric has set up for the other departments, and its budget is a work in progress. And I think that we are very fortunate in this community because we have the public safety sales tax. And that's a dedicated funding source for the department. And fortunately for us, we've been able to purchase things out of that we wouldn't have been able to purchase. So that's a huge benefit to this community and to this department. And I think overall, one of the other things I like to say is that we're good stewards of what we have. So we take care of the building, we take care of our cars, we try to provide the best equipment that we can to the officers, and we hope that they take pride in what they have, because if they do, they treat it better. Instead of drive it like it stole it, you drive it like you own it, kind of a concept. Or maybe you use it like you own it, not like you rented it. And I think that helps. And that's a kind of I'm kind of going around in different circles to answer your question, because it's not just one answer to your question. Budget is a tool, it's a plan, it's a concept, and it's an approach. Does that help?
We've got another one.
Good. One for the deputy chief?
Sure. Susan wants to know, do all of our officers have cameras to protect them on duty? How, as an individual, can I/we help all of you?
I'm going to let you answer that question because you have a better knowledge of where we're at on our body cameras and stuff.
Currently, we've got cameras in each of the patrol vehicles, each of the marked patrol vehicles.
And that's a dash cam.
That's a dash cam, and then the officer has a body microphone. And when their lights go on, that event goes back 30 seconds to record what led up to the stop or the contact. You know, unfortunately, that camera does not go with you when you go into a house or a building. So what we've done is we've purchased, we haven't received them yet because we're waiting for an upgrade, but we have purchased a body camera in addition to the car camera that will be in each of the vehicles. And hopefully within the year, we will purchase enough body cameras for each of our patrol officers to be issued one.
So what we've done is we've in this current fiscal year, we've ordered and purchased 30-some body cameras.
Correct.
And that should be one for every patrol vehicle that the officers assigned to those vehicles will share. That's the idea. And then later in the next calendar year, we've already budgeted funds to purchase an additional 30 or more to give every uniformed officer a body camera. And then I'd like to, if we can find the funding or budget the funding in the next fiscal year, or maybe if we have the funding, to start putting those on some of our specialized units, maybe our animal control officers, put them in the jail, so that we have body cameras all over the place.
And how about protective vests? Do all of our officers wear those?
Yes. All we have, and in fact, I wore mine tonight. I didn't know what to expect. But no, every officer has a protective vest, bullet-resistant vest. We recently participated with Fox 4 Shield 616 program, where they were raising funds, and I asked for roughly seven vests for investigators, that we could replace some of our aging vests. we are fortunate that we budget for that every year, and then we have a grant we receive from the federal government that will pay for half of our costs, that reimburse us. So we have some funding source there that helps pay for those, and we put those on a 5-year cycle. So we're always buying vests for folks. And I want to add too, if I'm not mistaken, our DSOs, which are our detention service officers, and our animal control officers are assigned vests.
Correct.
When they did that.
Oh, hold on. Yeah, you do. I'm tired of holding it.
So when they did that vest support on TV, they were doing it to replace old vests that weren't really up to par. The vests that you're talking about, are they the newer ones that you have purchased and are purchasing in the future?
So they went out to all the agencies in the metro area and they said, anybody that wants to participate, send us your need. Some departments can't afford vests. The officers have to buy them themselves, or maybe they don't have, maybe they're wearing an outdated vest. So we put in a request for a vest, and hopefully we'll get some funding from that. Any other questions from the board?
I think it's been a couple years since I first started on the board. I had complained to you that my children would wave at police officers, and sometimes they wouldn't wave back. And then you said, well, maybe the windows are tinted. And I said, no, we're nerds. We rolled the window down. Hang out. But anyway, I just wanted to tell you that I have a special needs son who is getting ready to turn 12, and a nice police officer waved at him, and I think he talked about it for a month.
That's awesome.
So it I don't know how much I can express how much joy that gave this little kid. And he's like, I don't know if I could be a police officer, but I could be a police officer helper.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
We need those.
I just want, you know, acknowledging the wave. I moved to a new neighborhood where people don't look down, they look up, they look for you to wave, and I'm kind of old-fashioned and neighborly, and I think people should greet each other. So anyway, my kids appreciate that, and all the officers that are here. I have 3 thoughts. I have another one. I never did do my ride-along, so I should probably do that. But I was going to recommend, and I don't know if anybody's ever done that here, or I would want to help foster this project. But has anybody ever gone abroad to another country to do a ride-along? I'm originally from the Netherlands. We're very densely populated. We have very different drug and prostitution laws. And we also have very weird sirens that are hard to get used to. There is a big difference in how things work there. Some of it's negative, like, so it might give you some do nots, but I don't know if anybody's ever thought to go somewhere else instead of reinventing because sometimes when you make that expense, you get one really great idea that changes. You like, this would be great for Blue Springs.
I've never done a ride-along in another country. I've done ride-alongs in other cities.
Doesn't count.
Outside the U.S., but I've never even been on vacation outside the U.S.
So somebody should get a passport, or
Someday
who
I
has
will.
one. You should do a lottery, and you should send somebody
Now,
who's.
I was fortunate enough to attend the FBI National Academy,
Yes.
and there were 20 international students there. So while I didn't do any ride-alongs with them, it was interesting to hear their stories and their struggles that they have policing in their countries. Some of them were extreme, for example, dealing with terrorism and what have you. But it was interesting to me that at the core, the problems are the same. At the core, how they handle them are a little bit different, maybe, but they don't have the same laws that we have to work within.
Yes.
And I'm glad they waved at your son. That's
Yes. And thirdly, Sergeant Kinsel, I really don't I'm afraid of guns. And I think that, well, I don't want them pointed at me, but I don't even want to touch them. I'm a complete girl. And I think that everybody should have to do the simulator. Was that Milo?
Training simulator?
Yes. Is that what we did? I really didn't want to do it, but it really changes your perspective of how hard it is for I make few life and death decisions sometimes, but that's really hard. And I feel like everybody should.
It's a great decision-making tool, and when we were able to purchase that, I thought, wow, that's going to be great for our citizens academies, and that's going to be great for, for the public relations, and that's a great tool to help us build social capital. But it's really a great training tool for our officers because it forces them to be in a decision-making mode that is almost as realistic as you can get. Has anybody in here tried it yet? Yeah. So. I mean, it's pretty realistic, isn't it? I mean, it makes you, and so officers are human, and officers are faced with all kinds of situations, dark, night, low light, and they have to make split-second decisions. And anything we can do to help them to increase muscle memory or make those decisions quicker, faster, better, kind of like Chiefs football. We want them bigger, faster, stronger.
Well,
I just want our officers smart.
Like my husband will criticize whatever's happening on the news, and having been in the simulator, babe, you have no idea how hard it is and how fast it happens.
Well, hopefully that we'll be able to roll that out, we'll be able to use it more, and that more people get to know it. That's why I would encourage everybody to participate in the Citizens Police Academy here or within your community, because the more you can get to know the officers and what they do and what they have to go through. So I once worked for a guy, and I think I mentioned this at one of our Citizens Academy, we did a lawn care business, and he said, man, if you screw up, this person, you make them mad, they're going to tell 100 other people. Every time we make somebody happy, they tell one or two. With social media, I mean, you can multiply that exponentially. So, and we all suffer for decisions people make in other cities, whether you're a doctor or, so one dentist screws up and all the dentists are not good, right? One officer makes a bad decision somewhere and all the officers are messed up. But I think that the more that we can build social capital, the more that we can do things like this, the more we can get citizens into our Citizens Police Academy. We hold 3 a year, and then we hold a youth academy. And one of the only things that hold us back, or when we go to the range, when we put all these resources, man hours, it's a lot of man hours to run that academy. It's a lot of resources going in the form of a bullet downrange, that there's a price tag to that. So we can only do so many a year. But every person we touch, I hope that we can build a relationship with and improve our social capital so that when we do have an issue, that we can draw upon that and still have support within the community.
We have a lot of people wanting to know how citizens can support the police department and what they can do to help.
Okay, well, that's a good question. You can pray. You can become a volunteer in police services. You can attend our Citizens Police Academies that I just mentioned. Contact our crime prevention unit for that. You can reach out and talk to us when we're out. You can be a good witness. Don't be afraid to contact us. So many times we run into these, what I call street justice. People don't want to talk to us. They want to go handle the problems themselves. And that's one of the problems we're having lately with trying to investigate some of our homicides. It's not their job to go out and handle that. It's our job. So I think we love getting the pies and cakes, but boy, it's really killing my fitness program. But just a note, a card, just a thank you on the street. But we don't do it for that. I mean, the officers that are working the road, they don't do it for that. They do it because they love the job. And they love serving the community of Blue Springs. And I think I speak for every one of them when I say that. But we appreciate the support in whatever fashion we can get. But if they would get out and vote on initiatives, I'm sure the City Council will help them in that regard. But also if they would look at the Citizens Police Academies and such as that. We didn't set a time limit on this tonight, so are there any other questions? With that, I don't see any questions, Miranda, or is there anybody else on Facebook? And I think what we do is I really want to say several things. I want to thank the board. When you asked me to do this, I thought, oh man, here we go. Because we had a really good forum last year, and I didn't know who was going to show up. So I want to thank everybody here who came out, because I was like, man, there may not be anybody here. We may not be able to videotape the audience tonight while we're doing this. We don't want them to see crickets. And then I want to thank Deputy Chief Edwards, because I kind of roped him into helping me out tonight. And then Miranda and Mr. Watson back there running the system for us. And I really want to thank, we mentioned support. We have great support from this community, and I really appreciate that, because it makes my job so much easier. We have a great department and a great community. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before you close, I know you have to officially adjourn the meeting. There are cookies and there's water out there. And if you want to hang around and talk, feel free to do so. If you didn't want to ask me a question, you can ask me later.
Thank you, Chief Muntz. I want to personally say how much I appreciate. I've had the fortunate opportunity to be able to meet a lot of your officers over the last, well, a couple of years that I've been doing this. And I tell you, I have seen them out and about, and they speak, they smile. It's been quite a blessing to be here in Blue Springs. So thank you guys and ladies, because you have them too, for the work that you do and for running always towards it and never away from it. So I appreciate that. On behalf of the board, we appreciate you taking this task and doing it. You did a fabulous job.
Yes, you did.
You and newly
Thank you.
appointed Deputy Chief Edwards have done a fantastic job, and you know, we could actually do this every year, couldn't we?
Yes, we did.
All right, so if there's no other questions, our next meeting will be held January 22nd, 2019. And with that being said, if there is no further business that comes before the board, we can go home.
Make a motion.
Do you have a second?
Second.
And we're done.
Thank you.